everyone, I'm Jocelyn Minerve from Minerves on the Move, and these are my recommendations for writing a resume when applying to schools abroad. And wait, if you aren't interested in applying for jobs overseas, stick around because these tips could be used for all resumes. In this video, I'm going to show you the techniques I use where I received several offers from around the world before accepting my current position here in Honduras. So let's check out my resume right now. Tip 1. My resume is 2 pages. My husband's resume is 2 pages. As someone who has helped and partnered with recruiting new teachers, employers don't care if your resume is 2 pages as long as it has quality information and not just fluff. But what is quality information? Which brings me to my second tip. Tip 2. We only want to highlight and emphasize information that is quality. Everything else can be labeled as a skill. Let me give you an example. Let's go ahead and zoom in on my resume. So here we go. I want to preface this with some things have been left out for privacy purposes. So usually on an international resume, you'll have things like your phone number, your address, your date of birth, but you guys don't need to know all that. Typical resume things you'll see here, so like where I went to college, my degree, my last few roles. Again, a lot of these things will be slightly altered, but for the most part, this is my resume. But we're just going to go ahead and scroll all the way down to what we're talking about, which is the skills. Oh, another thing is selected achievements. Sometimes I will go ahead and write out things that I want them to highlight and see. So here I organized an off-campus trip for colleges. If I were to work with the college counseling department, but we're not here for that. We're here for skills. We're here for skills. So if you notice, I've just listed some skills that I've had. So I did a training for IB, making the PYP happen. Another skill that I have is whole brain teaching, and I use that in pretty much all my last positions, yearbook club. These are just skills that aren't necessarily important to my resume, but I want to go ahead and add it on there just in case, unbeknownst to me, a future employer is looking for someone with these skills, someone who has taught yearbook club. Now, it doesn't have to be just this. So let's say this is my husband's resume. I can put in basketball. I can put in how he was a DJ. Who knows? Somebody might need a DJ or somebody working with sound. These are just skills that we're jotting down that we want them to see, but we don't have to highlight these necessarily. This can go on and on and on, but just so they know you have those skills. Bilingual, your languages go here. Now remember, you want to write down every skill, no matter how irrelevant you may think it is. We'll talk about that in a moment. Tip 3, organize your resume by most relevant, not most recent. Most people will say organize resume by most recent in that your present job, 2022, 2020, 2019, and so on and so forth. So I don't do that. Let me show you what I mean. So let's say I'm applying to a bilingual Spanish-speaking school, and they want someone who has experience in project-based learning, IB, and they also want that person to be able to coach or do some type of extracurricular activity. I'm first going to have my subheading that says relevant experience. Then I'm going to list a school that I worked from 2019 to 2022, where I did those exact things, followed by my experience coaching JV basketball in 2017. So I have my relevant experience that literally goes hand in hand with what the school is looking for. After, under my subheading that says professional experience, I'm going to list everything in order by most recent. Remember, your resume is the first thing that the school is going to see before they even decide they want to interview you. You are competing against hundreds, maybe thousands of people for one position. Now, this is what I did on this specific resume, which brings me to my next point. Tip 4, make multiple resumes and keep them updated. Now, I have multiple resumes. I saw working in education abroad as a way to do something that I love. I love to teach, but I also saw it as a way to travel. I saw it as a catalyst to finally leaving the US. So I knew that I was going to be applying to several positions, whether it was my background in teaching, my background in admissions, my background in college counseling, I was going to go. That meant I had to be flexible in what I was going to do in the school building or even the country that I was applying to. Ian and I have tailored our resume for several things between the both of us. Athletic directors, operation manager, teacher, admissions officer, etc. Also, during my current school year, if I'm a part of something, I immediately add it to my resume and then go back to revamp it and make it look more professional later. For example, this year I worked with the CGC curriculum, which I have never done before. I also hosted a PD on whole brain teaching to the elementary school. And I'm adding all this up into my resume, and then later I will go back and clean it up when and if I decide to leave my current position. Tip 5. Now, a step that most people don't really think about is how to send your resume. So this tip is about how to send it. Clearly, when we're sending a resume, we're sending it through an email. Duh. But something I always put in the subject line is an attention getter. Something like, highly exceptional candidate, jostle a nerve. Or committed and hardworking candidate, jostle a nerve. Again, I want to stand out and not just put my first and last name, interested in the position. Now, sometimes HR or whatever recruitment agency you're going through is going to have their specific guidelines. Of course, follow those guidelines. Also, when sending my resume, I take notice in sending it again either to the principal or director. Now, this can be very controversial, and you have to know who you're dealing with and the attitude of the school. So, for example, we applied to a very sought out, reputable school in Africa. Now, after I applied, so I always recommend after you apply through the portal or whatever you're using, I then sent an email directly to the head of school saying how I was so interested in working with the school, and we just applied, and I attached both of my husband and I's resume and cover letter. Now, to my surprise, the head of school very quickly responded back to me saying, hey, that's so great, I would like to meet up with you. We did a Zoom call, met with the head of school. He was very excited. However, at the time, we were a couple applying for a couple position and they didn't have any available. But what ended up happening is when a couple position opened up, he reached out to us directly to let us know that there was an opening and we were still interested. Had I not sent my resume directly to the head of school, I would have never got that email and made that connection. Tip 6. My last recommendation is to always send the cover letter. I know we just filled out an application, we filled out recommendation letters, we filled out so much stuff, and we have to send an optional cover letter. Should you do it? Yes. Also, don't wait, don't go yet, because if you click this video right here, I will give you tips on writing a cover letter as well. Thanks so much for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe.